Next week is South by Southwest, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of freaking out. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the SlasherTalk Podcast. I hope you have all had a great week. I don't want to say I'm like overly stressed out or panicking or whatever, but this week has kind of started to be a little chaotic in prep for South by Southwest, which for some weird reason I thought was 2 weeks away. It's not, it's next week. So in the back half of this week, I've kind of gone into a little bit of a panic mode, which I'm gonna be totally fine, but, like, it just that's where the laziness and the procrastination of, like, pre-recording a bunch of content for when I'm gonna be gone. This is when the whole, like, full-time job content creator stuff comes into play. I'm gonna be at South by Southwest gallivanting around, hanging out with my friends and watching movies, but that's like work. I'm there to work, and I'm not going to have time to like be back at the Airbnb and just record a bunch of content. So I have to pre-record content. So I absolutely have a video a day to post on all the platforms. That's if TikTok gets their shit together, because the last few days there's been a major glitch. Servers are down, which is pretty funny after another giant US news event happens. The servers are down. Uh-huh. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation, but so I had the Dolly screening on, was it Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. I went to the Dolly screening with Gigi and her boyfriend Zach. It's always fun going to these early screenings with your friends. But Rod Blackhurst was there, the director of Dolly, Max the Impaler, who plays Dolly herself. They were there, and Fred Durst hosted the Q&A, which I thought was extremely random. But per my Psycho Killer podcast episode a couple weeks back, I'm finding out that Fred Durst is more connected to the horror movie genre than I initially thought. Like he was originally supposed to direct Psycho Killer back in like, I might have gotten it wrong by like 2011. I don't have it up, but somewhere like, he was attached to direct a horror movie. So that's just like whatever. I guess he like lives in Tennessee, kind of close. So they got him to do the Q&A, which in my opinion, helped almost sell out this pre-screening of Dolly, which I'd loved to see. I didn't expect there to be that many people at this showing. So to walk in and see in the room almost completely full for an independent film like this, I loved it. In general, it seemed like the reception of the movie went over pretty well. There were the guy sitting next to me winced every time something like brutal or like graphic happened. He was like, ooh, ah. And I was like, I love that. The woman that was sitting 2 seats down from him, there are some like character decisions within the movie that might upset some people. It's just like, girl, what are you doing? You can get out of this situation. Are we really worried about this right now? And she was just like, I've never been so pissed off. And I just laughed. But in general, it seems like everybody had a great time. Go support that movie, by the way. If it is a little bit of a side rant, I was checking to see like how like pre-sale tickets for Dolly might be doing in my area. My theaters here have one showing per day, and the showing starts at 10:55 p.m. No tickets are sold. Well, no fucking wonder. You have one screening of this movie, and it's at 11 p.m. Like, at that point, I feel like most people are just like, "I'll just wait until it comes out on Shudder," which I find extremely disappointing. But as I talked to Gigi and Zach and actually Rod about this at the screening. It's it's so disheartening to see because, like, put the politics and the drama and the behind the scenes stuff about Scream 7 aside. Globally, that movie did, like, damn near, like, what? It was, like, $100 million opening weekend, 63 million or so in the US alone. Blew the projections out of the water. And a lot of these same people are in my comment sections almost every day saying, "Horror is nothing but reboots and remakes and sequels. There's nothing original anymore." But then you have this independent slasher film called Dolly, which is it's not groundbreaking in the genre. It's another slasher film, but, like, this is a new character to get behind. It's shot on film. It's very Texas Chainsaw Massacre inspired. So, like, it's obviously not, like, totally original, but it's an original idea. And all these people flocked to Scream 7, this major IP, the 7th installment of this franchise, another sequel. Obviously, people love Ghostface and things, but it's just like, if 50% of the people that blindly went and watched Scream 7 because of its IP, and you say that you're such a massive horror fan and you're such a massive fan of slashers, and I feel like you should be going and buying a ticket to Dolly. And if 50% of the people that did that, like Dollywood, would be so successful. But then, one, people are not. Like, they're saying, oh, it's nothing but, reboots, sequels and remakes. But then when something original does come around, you don't show up to the theater to support it. So you're telling Hollywood and these major studios not to give us something that we haven't seen before, not to give us another Ghostface, another reboot, a remake, a sequel. You're telling these studios with your hard-earned money. Numbers talk, money talks. So when you see, which is obviously a win for horror and a win for the genre and a franchise that has been around for 30 years. I'm not taking anything away from Scream, Ghostface, the franchise, nothing. Massive win. But you're telling these studios, by not supporting these independent films in theaters when they're in theaters, that, like, you don't really want to see that. So that's why we continue to see remakes, reboots, and sequels. But number two, the theaters aren't really helping these films either, because they have one showing at 10:55 p.m. I'm not leaving my house at 10:55 p.m. to go watch a movie. I'm not gonna fucking do it. I'm old and I'm lazy. Like, obviously, if I hadn't already seen the movie at Fantastic Fest or saw the pre-screen, I bought tickets for the pre-screening, which was damn near sold out, which is great. Like, I would go see it. But what I saw, not a single ticket was bought for this in, like, 3 to 4 days at my local theater, and it just makes me so sad, because it's just like, I feel like a lot of people are like, "It's so late, I'll just wait for it to hit streaming," which opens up an entire new conversation about theatrical releases and streaming, and I won't get into that, but just, like, if you check your local theater and there's a showing for Dolly, and you love horror and you love slasher specifically, please go support this film. Um, I'm not saying it's a 5 out of 5 genre-changing slasher film in the slightest. That's not what I'm saying, but just, like, if you love horror and you love slashers and you have a showing that you can go support this film. Rant over. Anyway, I just went on. That was a lot. I'm so sorry. Water break. But other than that, I had that Tuesday. I'm gonna go see The Bride this afternoon in like 4 or 5 hours. I'm super excited. I don't really know what to expect from this. I've stayed away from like most of the reviews, but in general, like, most of my friend group that have seen it seems to really enjoyed it. So I'm excited to see that. I mean, Jesse Buckley, Christian Bale, I'm all in. Like, I have to go watch it. So I'm gonna do that this afternoon, and then, like, the rest of the week is just like pre-recording content. So, but pre-recording for South by Southwest, which is the basis of today's podcast episode. I have a lot of pre-reserved tickets. We're gonna go through and talk about every movie that I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna talk about, like, the ones that I'm most anticipated to see there, but there's a lot of new stuff coming out. A few of these we kinda went over last week, and so I won't spend as much time on those, but there's a lot of great stuff that I'm looking forward to. Um, so let's just dive in, guys. So I fly out on the 11th, but South by doesn't officially start on the 12th. And there's some things being worked in where hopefully my first movie of the festival is going to be this one. It sounds so cool. It's called Dead Eyes, and it's a first person horror film, which to me, I don't know if that's gonna be, it's not found footage, but, like, that's mostly what people think of when they think of, like, first person, because like, you're in the view of the person holding the camera, but I think of, the remake of Maniac with Elijah Wood. I'm guessing it's gonna be that kind of vibe, which I don't feel like you see very often, like, uh, In About Nature did the whole third person point of view, but first person I can't think of a lot of horror movies off the top of my head, besides like all the found footage genre. So it's a first person horror film. It's about Sean and his fiancee Grace. They enter a remote forest to find Sean's missing father, Paul, who vanished after the death of his youngest daughter, Lily. Returning to the site of Lily's death forces Sean to confront his inner demons, which begin to materialize externally. Their search takes a terrifying turn, revealing Paul's secret. He's been conducting experiments aimed at resurrecting Lily. The forest is now inhabited by cannibalistic little girls, each a clone of Lily, battling to prove their identity as the real one. As Sean and Grace uncover the grim truth, they face terrifying creatures and grapple with unsettling questions about life and death. I fuck yeah, dude. Fuck yes. I wonder if it's gonna go into like folk horror territory with like changelings or something like that. Cause it sounds very changeling-esque to me. Um Changelings like will transform, you know, into looking like it's mostly happening with kids too. The Hallow Road, deals with a bunch of like changeling stuff. That movie, A Christmas Horror Story had a good little changeling uh, um segment within the film. So I wonder if like the terrifying creatures are gonna be like changeling. I'm all in for this. And the fact it comes from Australia, so an Australian horror film at that. Hopefully this goes fucking hard. I cannot wait. If that's the opening film, hell yeah. Next, I have a film called Ugly Cry. This one I officially have tickets for. Ugly Cry. This is coming out of the US. It says horror comedy thriller. I hope it's not a ton of comedy. You guys know how I feel about horror comedy, but like there's things I like. Anyway, when Delaney's boyfriend leaves town to shoot a splashy zombie movie, she becomes obsessed with a character she's auditioning for after she learns the producers think she has an ugly cry. But when she tries to make her cry prettier, her performance suffers. Can she contort herself and her face to have the perfect cry? Her attempts to change herself cause young Delaney to haunt her, catapulting present day Delaney deeper down the rabbit hole. She isolates herself and grows increasingly delusional and interested in physical fixes to fix her acting problem. How can she make the world see her as she sees herself? How can she become and become and become? She will become famous or die trying. Very interesting concept here. I do see maybe where like the comedy bits will come into play. It's all going to depend on the execution for me. Like the execution, the delivery. I hope it doesn't become cheesy, which for me, like I know it's all subjective, but like horror comedy can very easily run that line of, like, being cheesy, so this kind of has that vibe that it might be, but I hope it does not. We'll see. I don't really know much about this next one. It's called Grind. I literally saw I was going through um I was going through tickets and I saw Barbara Crampton's face in a horror section. I said, "Yeah, sold. I want that." Um so we're gonna see, which is funny enough talking about horror, like horror comedy. A lot of the stuff that she does leans that way. But there's a lot of Barbara Crampton horror stuff that I love. So I saw Barbara Crampton's face and I was like, "Yep, sign me up." So this is the last movie on the first day that I'm gonna see, and this is a horror anthology. So it tackles the modern work landscape through four timely perspectives: the hustle culture of an L in of an L in Jesus Christ, an MLM, the endless repetitive, the endless I cannot speak. Holy fuck. The endless repetitiveness of a food delivery driver, the online horrors of a content moderator, and the unionization of a familiar feeling coffee shop. I'm all in. I love a horror anthology, so I'm all in. Hopefully, again, this one seems like it's gonna definitely lean into the comedy for sure. It says it says comedy, horror, sci-fi, so with comedy being the first one and horror being second, I'm guessing it very much leans into the comedy. So I hope this one lands for me because I love Barbara Crampton so much. Um, and like I said, I love a horror anthology. So this should be a good little film to end day one on. Day two. Honestly, day two, there's gonna be 2 films instead of 3. I have a ticket for I Love Boosters, but I don't know, 1, that I'm gonna go see it. Might it's at 11 a.m. I might go see it just for something to do, but it's not a horror film, so we're not gonna talk about that, but, um, so I may or may not go see that. But March 13th, the premiere of Ready or Not 2. Uh, and I know we talked about this last week to a degree, so I won't like focus in on this, but obviously this takes place right after the events of 1. Grace wakes up and she finds out there's another level of this game and her sister gets involved. Sarah Michelle Gellar is going to be in this, Elijah Wood, like to be at the world premiere of something like this, like I'm so fucking excited. I'm keeping hope that Samara Weaving is there. She's about to like give birth. It seems like any day, so I don't know if she is gonna be there, but I know Catherine Newton and most of the other cast, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Elijah Wood, will probably 100% be there, and there's an after party, so I cannot wait to go just, like, hang out, and hopefully I get to meet Catherine Newton, 'cause that would be pretty fucking cool. And Sarah Michelle? Hell yes. If I can meet the 2 of them, if I get to meet Samara Weaving, I might pass out. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So, that's all I'm gonna say about Ready or Not 2. I cannot wait. The next film for for day 2 is a film that I honestly wasn't necessarily looking forward to, but I snagged a ticket to it, and then I saw the trailer, and I was like, "Okay, I'm all in." It's pretty lethal. If you follow my content pages, which hopefully you do, you saw that I, watched the trailer for this, last week. And it's an action-packed thriller where 5 ballerinas stranded in a remote forest take shelter at an unsettling roadside inn. They must weaponize years of brutal training, turning grace discipline, and even pointy shoes into tools for survival. So these 5 ballerinas are on their way to, like, this, like, competition. Their bus breaks down, and they end up in this roadside inn, and, uh, Uma Thurman plays the woman that runs this inn, and she was a ballerina when, and her her younger self was a ballerina, and it looks like this group of ballerinas, like the coach or whatever, stumbles upon there's some like shady shit that goes on at this inn, and Uma Thurman and her like goons turn on them and will not let them leave. So they have to find their way out. It kind of gives me that like a home invasion kind of thing, where like, can you make it out? But we're gonna see. I don't necessarily think that this is gonna be overly horror. It definitely says thriller, but ballerinas kicking ass. It seems very much if you liked Abigail, if you liked Ready or Not, it's gonna be in that same vein. This is gonna be a great way, regardless, to end day 2. Cannot wait. Day 3, I've got 2 movies as well. Day 3, this has literally my most anticipated film of the festival. I've said that if I never mind, we're gonna get to it. First up, I'm so excited for the next one, holy shit. Um, First movie of the day is gonna be a film called Family Movie. It stars Kevin fucking Bacon, brother. Hell yeah. This one also, horror comedy. Listen, for someone that doesn't necessarily like horror comedy, I have a lot of horror comedies on my list. To be fair, when the tickets went on sale, I just went to genre and filtered it out through horror and thriller. And if it was on that list and I could fit it in my schedule, I just put it on my list. Some things I didn't get to work out, like American Dollhouse, I'm not gonna be able to see, and I'm fucking bummed, man. But it is what it is. So the first movie for day 3, Family Movie, stars Kevin Bacon. The Smiths have gathered once again on their quaint family farm to make the latest in a string of low-budget horror movies. All in. Um, no, the movies aren't particularly successful. Some might even call them bad, but at least the family's together, and that's what matters to Jack and Ellen. Their adult children, on the other hand, Trent and Ula, are working up the courage to leave this particular family tradition behind. Simmering family dysfunction turns to pure chaos when a real dead body shows up on set. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. This one sounds incredibly up my alley. Not only does it star Kevin Bacon, he's the director. I love Kevin Bacon and his style of, like, how he delivers his comedy throughout things, so I think this one will 100% be up my alley. I cannot wait to see this film. Hell yes. But the one that's going to really take the cake on day 3, my most anticipated for not only the festival, but the entire year. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic when I say that. Hokum, the world premiere of Hokum. Damian McCarthy, for me, is easily top 5 horror movie directors working right now. If you have not seen his previous films, Caveat, Oddity, incredible films. I think I prefer Oddity over Caveat, but Caveat's atmosphere, and it's still such a good film. But I personally prefer Oddity over Caveat, but a lot of people have the opposite opinion. Regardless, Danny McCarthy seems to be making his own little, like, folk, witchy, shared universe of films. Because there's a lot of shared imagery and things and themes within both Caveat and Oddity, and all those things are showing up in Hokum as well. So I cannot wait. His third film, if I'm not gonna say if, when this film is incredible, because I don't see how it could be a terrible film. I just do not. When Hokum is incredible, Damien is going to have just back to back to back great horror films, and it's going to really cement himself, in my opinion, as one of the best horror directors to be working right now. It's obviously it stars Adam Scott. When novelist Home Bauman retreats to a remote inn to scatter another remote inn. Weird. To scatter his parents' ashes, he is consumed by tales of a witch haunting the honeymoon suite. Disturbing visions and a shocking disappearance forces him to confront dark corners of his past. Just from the trailer does not give a lot away at all. It's this very unsettling, creepy, even the atmosphere in the trailer alone is incredible. Damien McCarthy, his atmosphere and the sense of dread and doom that he's able to create is so perfectly and, in my opinion, flawlessly executed. It almost comes off like this is just effortless for him. And it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to create whatsoever, and he does it so seemingly effortlessly. That's what I love about his films. So, I could fly to South by Southwest, see this film, and fly home, and I would be incredibly happy. If this film sucks, I will be devastated, but there is no shot on the planet that it sucks because it's Damien McCarthy. And if there's one fan of his films, it's me. So I have all faith that this film is going to be incredible. And I've been waiting and waiting. I've been waiting over a year for this fucking film. And it's next week. And I cannot wait. I've actually spoken to Damien McCarthy a little bit here and there on socials, and there is a chance that I get to meet him. And if I get to shake this man's hand and say thank you for Caveat, thank you for Oddity, and thank you for Hokum, what you are doing with what you are providing the horror genre, just thank you. I will be so happy. So cannot wait for I cannot wait for Hokum. I cannot wait for Hokum. Oddly enough, the next day, what is that? 1, 2, 3, day 4. I start the day off with another Adam Scott film. Again, comedy. Man, these comedy movies better fucking hit. I have a lot of them. This one, though, it has got Adam Scott, Danielle Deadweiler just off the rip, like the two main leads in this film, sold. Like, they are both great actors. It's called The Saviors. It's a comedy sci-fi thriller. Sean and Kim Harrison are a suburban couple about to divorce. Been there, done that. By renting their guest house to a quiet Middle Eastern brother and sister, Amir and Jahan Razi, they find a perfect solution. Raise money to fix and sell their house, then separate. But when bizarre occurrences begin to add up, mysterious lights, missing animals, glimpses of unexplainable tech in the days before the president's upcoming visit to town, their guests' strange behavior starts to seem suspicious and potentially dangerous. As Sean and Kim investigate their tenants, they rediscover the emotional connection they once shared. but recollection may come at a significant cost in this timely and provocative thriller. It sounds great. Not necessarily gonna be horror, but like I said, I like to throw thrillers in because there's a line to me. There's always this fine line, like thriller. Does the thriller movie get placed underneath the horror umbrella? This seems like it's going to be mostly just straight thriller. Um, but some movies that are labeled thriller, I'm kind of like, man, like I would put that into like the horror category, but this does not seem like one of those. So it'll be a good way to start day 4. We then move into this film. Day 4 is stacked. One, two, I got 4 movies on day 4. Holy shit. I'm gonna be a tired, snoozy boy. Next film I roll into is a film called Rock Springs. This one is a drama horror. It is a grieving Chinese Vietnamese American family moved to an isolated house in a new town. 8-year-old Gracie, silent since the death of her beloved father, that's sad, begins to interact with a dark presence in the woods behind their new home. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna lie, like there's a lot more here, but I that's all I need to say. That's all I want to know and want to say. So all in. Drama horror, uh, dark presence in the woods, but yeah. Yep. Yep, 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 yep. That will be a great watch, I think. What's interesting about South by Fantastic Fest and things is, and this is usually the case. You go in and you read all of, like, you read the log lines, you read the synopsis and the photo that they choose for it and stuff. They all sound so good. You love the premise. And then you get done and then you go in and you watch it, and some movies just do not hit. They don't live up to what you thought in your head or whatever. Um, and you're like, "Oh, okay. That just wasn't for me personally." But it's so interesting because, like, there's no marketing of this movie or whatever. So you just have a photo and a log line to go off of. And you have this thing that you've created in your head about, like, how this movie is going to go, what its feeling is gonna be, etcetera. And then some of these films, they come out like, there are movies that I saw almost like South by Southwest last year that are just starting to kinda, like, come out now, and to see how they are being marketed, it's like, damn, like, the marketing team is doing their job. Like, sometimes it just is seeing it pre-marketing into, like, how it's being marketed is just like, "Okay, like, I see what you're doing. You very much sold that movie, but unfortunately, that's not what that is." I don't know why I went on that tangent, but whatever. It was a thought, so I just let it fucking roll. Next one, 3rd movie for the day. It's a film called Monitor. This is, I believe, it's gonna be a Screen Life film, which I love. Monitor. Maggie works as a content moderator. There's a lot of content moderator stuff coming out too. There was stuff about that last year. And a couple we've already talked once about a content moderator. Anyway, I'm rambling. Maggie works as a content moderator for ViewQ moderation services, spending her days filtering the internet's darkest content, driven by guilt over her sister's suicide. Fuck. When Maggie blocks a cryptic video uploaded by an anonymous user, she and her team begin to be hunted by an insidious entity that haunts them through every screen in their lives. All fucking in, brother. Brother, all in. Screen Life movies, an insidious entity. Dude, this has the potential to be such a movie that I am going to love. some people don't like the screen life shit. And like judging every screen in their lives, like sometimes the security camera stuff kind of gets a little old, and sometimes the thing about these movies is sometimes um the realism of like, oh, like this screen being used in this way right now doesn't make sense. Like you have to really hammer out all the details like that to really just like sell the realism. So it's kind of tricky, but when done right, there's a film that we saw last year called Life Hack that has not come out yet. That I loved, and it was very screen. It was Green Life, you know. So if it's anywhere close to that, sold. Um, Last movie for the day. It's a film called Imposters, and this one stars, if you have seen the movie Happy Death Day, it stars Jessica Rothe, who plays, I believe her name was Tree, right? Let me check. Yeah, Tree. I do know things. So this is stars Jessica Rothe. It's called Imposters, sci-fi thriller. So not necessarily, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be necessarily horror, but again, thriller. I'm good. After a couple's baby boy is taken, the desperate mother learns of a way to bring him back. However, her husband begins to suspect that she returned with with begins to suspect. I cannot fucking read today. Redo. After a couple's baby boy is taken, the desperate mother learns of a way to bring him back. However, her husband begins to suspect that what she returned with isn't their son. I did it. Hooray! Um, yeah, all in. Again, more kid, like, changeling kid vibes. Um, Somebody pointed out the other day on my TikTok, on my trailer reaction to Pinocchio's Revenge. They were like, "Hey, does anybody notice that there's a lot of, like, kid horror stuff going on right now?" I was like, "Yeah, there is." Um, so here's, another one on the list. Imposters too, like, gives me Changeling. My mouse isn't fucking working for shit. Like, Changeling, oh my god. What's, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, you know, kind of, vibe. So, if it leans that way, cool, but it's sci-fi thriller, I don't know. But that's, the last movie of the day for day 4. Day 5 starts out with a banger, man. I cannot wait to see this one. It's called Over Your Dead Body. Another Samara Weaving. I love Samara Weaving. And then Jason Jason Segel, fucking Jason Segel's in this movie. Yeah, Samara Weaving, Jason Segel, Timothy Oliphant, and Juliette Lewis. A really great cast. Action comedy thriller. I saw the trailer for it. I cannot wait. The logline is so short, and it goes, "Yep, all in." A dysfunctional couple head to a remote cabin to supposedly reconnect, but each has secret plans to kill the other. Yep. I cannot wait. Um, Somebody pointed out, which I have not seen this movie, but I want to now. Somebody pointed out, maybe I have seen this movie. Have I? Okay. Anyway, there's a film that came out in 2021 called The Trip, and it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. I believe it's German? Norwegian. Yeah, it's a Norwegian film. I don't know why I said German. Anyway, literally, same logline. A dysfunctional couple head to a remote cabin to reconnect, but each has intentions to kill each other. So I almost wonder if this is like a US remake, if it's supposed to be a US remake. I'm gonna look this up on in real time over your dead body. Does there anything 2026? Sure is. It is an English language remake of the 2021 film The Trip. There you have it. The US likes to do that. So maybe I should watch The Trip before going on my trip to South by Southwest. I'm sorry. That was not funny. Um, moving on. Moving on. God, stupid. Movie 2 for day 5. I didn't know anything about most of these films. I knew some of these films were going to be at South, or when some of these films were announced at South by Southwest, I was like, "Oh, cool, Ready or Not 2." I know what that is. I had previously seen a trailer for They Will Kill You, and so I knew, but like this one, I knew nothing about, and I want to see it. It's called "And Her Body Was Never Found." Now, what worries me about this is it says drama, experimental, then horror thriller. So at the very least, it should be a unique film, but it says there really is no log line. It just says that more Cohen, which was helped screenwrite and produce, and he was the cinematographer, and Polaris Banks. They are a couple, and they did the impossible. Made a movie with just 2 people while camping. This is one I would say that has potential for me to walk out and say it just wasn't for me, but that's why you go to these festivals and like see new, films that you have no idea about them and just see how they hit. That's part of the fun. So we're gonna see. Third film for day 5, Forbidden Fruits. I don't really know a hell of a lot about this other than what we had talked about on the podcast last week. I know it's coming out through Shudder, which I'm super excited for. It's Forbidden Fruits. At a mall store, Apple leads a secret witch cult with coworkers Cherry and Fig. New hire Pumpkin questions their sisterhood, forcing them to confront inner darkness or meet violent ends. Anything involving a cult or a witch, I'm all in. I love witchy shit. And this one stars Lily Reinhart. So, forgive me. I am human and I want to watch it. So, my last film for the day on day 5. This one feels like if there is going to be one fan of this movie, it might just be me cuz I love some weird shit. It's called Buddy. It's called Buddy. And the log line is simple. A parade girl and her friends must escape a kids television show. But this movie, the picture is this red unicorn that has a costume similar to like Barney. So it gives Barney vibes. But it's this red unicorn and he's carrying a red axe and he has these bandages over his face and his eye and his like it looks like he's been through the fucking ringer. He's got blood all over him. This might be terrible. It might be. But just I'm such a sucker for this kind of shit. If it's executed the right way, this might end up being one of my favorite films of the year. I don't know. We're gonna see. I love shit like this, so I heard some great things. It was at Sundance, and I heard some people that watched it said that they had a great time and that it's like a must watch. So I had to sneak that into the schedule. So that's how I end day 5. Day 6, we start out with a film called Kill Me. Kill Me, comedy, crime, mystery, thriller. It's got Charlie Day, so that's why I was like, okay, cool. I love Charlie Day. Um, Jimmy wakes up in a bathtub filled with his own blood. Yep, sold. His wrist slit, and his life rapidly nearly completion. This would be a textbook failed suicide attempt, only Jimmy didn't do it. At least he's pretty sure he didn't. See, I love shit like that. Like, you set something up and, like, the character's like, "Wait, I didn't do it." I love that kinda thing. Alongside Margot, the 911 operator who took his call that fateful night, Jimmy begins an amateur hour murder investigation, desperate to prove that this is a whodunit and not a he done it. So, yeah, I think that if the fact that Charlie Day is the lead here, I think from the get-go, say, like, this being a comedy crime like, I think the comedy is gonna land because I think Charlie Day is hilarious. His timing, his delivery. So, I I think this is gonna be one that hits for me. Because again, we know how I view a lot of, like, comedy, horror, thriller shit, but this sounds like it's gonna be super promising, so I cannot wait to see that. Then there's the premiere of They Will Kill You. This one, again, seems very Ready or Not style, which I like. Um Action, comedy, horror, but, like, the horror comedy in the style like Ready or Not, Abigail, I liked those. I think not gonna go down the subject of Abigail right now, I've done that, so it is what it is, but, like, if you like that style of film, They Will Kill You seems to be right up that. So, it unleashes a blood-soaked, high-octane horror action comedy where a young woman must survive the night at the Virgil, a demonic cult's mysterious and twisted death trap of a lair, becoming their next offering in a uniquely brazen big screen battle of epic kills and wickedly dark humor. All in. I've seen the trailer. It looks great. I just saw Zazie Beetz in Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. I thought she played her character well. This has got Tom Felton. It's got Patricia Arquette, Heather Graham. Like, it just, yes. I cannot wait to see this and to be at the premiere at South by just makes it that much cooler. So, I'm very excited for that one. Last day. Last episode, we're kind of flying through these. Last day of the festival. Not gonna lie. Um, by this time at the festival, I'm tired. I'm snoozy. I'm worn out. I'm exhausted. I'm not necessarily ready to go home, but like at this point in time, like you go home the next day, you're just kind of getting through. Like you just kind of like want to get through the day, right? Kind of sneak in whatever you can. But like at this point in time, like you're kind of just like, I'm not gonna see my friends for a while. Um, a lot of times the last day doesn't necessarily go as scheduled. A lot of like just like hanging out, getting the last meals, saying goodbyes, doing all that. So like we're gonna see. I preface that with if I miss any of these films, it's not gonna break my heart. So we're still gonna go through them. 15. The movie's called 15. It is a goddamn a horror drama comedy. What is happening? Um, Set in Mexico City, 15 reimagines the iconic quinceanera as a chaotic mix of comedy and creature horror. Creature horror, I'm back in. Through Maddie and Ligia's unbreakable bond, the film explores class divides, illusions of adolescence, and the fear of growing up. Blood-soaked blood-soaked humor, biting social critique. Hell yeah. It's at 3 in the afternoon, so sweet. Like I said, I'm not overly super excited for any of these, like, last day films, so, like, it is what it is. I just kinda like, "Hey, it's the last day, gonna go see what I can, and if I don't, whatever." Although this has nothing to do with horror in the slightest. It's, a film called Normal. It's gonna be shown on 35 millimeter. It stars Bob Odenkirk. It's supposed to be this, like, action thriller, so I threw that on there, and then, the last movie that I have a ticket for is called Never After Dark. It's the world premiere. The wandering medium Ari spends her life guiding restless spirits out of the world of the living. Summoned to an isolated country house, she comes face to face with a grotesque apparition with powers that defy Ari's experience. As she digs deeper into the house's past, a secret comes to light, and she finds herself hunted by a far more unpredictable force. For the first time, her greatest adversary is not the supernatural, but the living. I want to see this. My only caveat, shout out Damian McCarthy, my only caveat or like worry is it is the last night of a long festival. It's shorter than last year. So like, and I made it through that one just fine. So we're going to see, but it plays at night. It starts at 10:15 and I fly out the next day. So I'm just being realistic in real time with you, saying there's a high percentage chance that I do not go to that movie and I reach out for a screener. That's just me being real. So there is the planned slate for South by Southwest. One thing that I want to go through. Well, after hearing all those, I would love to hear if this was your exact schedule, which movies would you be most excited to see? I have mine. I went into this film festival. Hokum was number one, and I glazed the hell out of that like 20 minutes ago. So you all know that Hokum was my number one. I then wanted to see Ready or Not 2. So Hokum, Ready or Not 2. I then shot for They Will Kill You. That was my number 3. And then my fourth one, that I really was like, I have to get tickets to this, I'm not gonna lie to you, was Buddy. I'm a fucking weirdo, dude. But I just heard like Justin, you need to see Buddy. So I went for those 4 immediately, got my 4 tickets. Now, of movies that I didn't necessarily like know prior, what I'm most excited for, I really want to see Dead Eyes, which is the first film of the festival, so I hope it hits. But first person, cannibalistic girls, changeling stuff, that I'm really stoked for that. Um family movie has a lot of potential. Monitor, I'm really excited for. And I really wanna see how over your dead body turns out. So yeah, those are my most anticipated. Hokum, Ready or Not 2, Buddy, They Will Kill You. I don't know why I have a hard time fucking saying that title. It's annoying as hell. Anyway, um, Dead Eyes, family movie, has massive potential, and Monitor and Over Your Dead Body. If I had to pick 2 outside of my top 4, Monitor and Dead Eyes for sure. So, we're gonna see. I will definitely come back from South by, and we'll do, like, a little, like, recap and a little ranking. We'll see how all these go. I Before I even land in Austin, it is going to be incredibly hard for anything to take Hokum's number 1 spot. I know I tell you what, I do my absolute best nowadays to set expectations, like, manage my expectations, but I cannot hide the fact that I am just so incredibly excited for Hokum. So if that one lands at all anywhere close to how I think it will, there's no way that anything takes them the number 1 spot from Hokum. So we're just gonna say Hokum is number 1, and we'll just rank the rest of them from there. So yeah, but I'm super excited if just based off of, like, the things that we talked about, the synopsis and the explanation of them all, I would love to hear maybe, like, are there movies on here that you didn't know were coming out? There are definitely movies I didn't know that were coming out. So, of those movies, which ones sound most interesting to you? What are you most excited, A, to see a review for? B, which movies did you throw on your "I have to watch this when it comes out" list? Interest Super interested to hear those thoughts. So, um, yeah, going into next week, I'm going to this weekend pre-record a podcast episode for Friday. So yes, you will hear from me on next Friday as you do. Um, but I will be in Austin at South by enjoying. I don't know what I'm gonna be talking about next Friday. We're gonna figure it out over the weekend, but I have full intention of putting out a pre-recorded podcast for Friday, so you guys aren't left to fend for yourselves on Friday morning. So, because what better way to start your Friday morning than listening to me try to talk? Sorry, that not positive talk that I was talking about earlier. I don't know if I'm gonna leave that in. I don't know. We're gonna see. But if you have not followed me on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, please be sure to go follow me. I'm Slasher Talk or Slasher Talk Horror on everything. You'll see my red little S symbol. If you have not given the podcast a 5-star rating and a review, please do that. Please, I don't want to beg, but please. It just helps me get into the algorithm more and more, listeners of the podcast, and I really like doing this. I'm not gonna lie, like, I love sitting. I woke up this morning. It's Thursday. I get to sit down and talk on the podcast and just kind of yap for an hour or so. So I always look forward to it. I'm really enjoying this stuff. It seems like I get messages here and there that people listen to every episode, and thank you so much for all the support. I know I say it every week, but genuinely, like, thank you. We're gonna work hard to keep building this thing and stuff, but part of that is getting the reviews and ratings to help push that out. So if you could do that for me, if you haven't yet, that would be awesome. Fucking awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna get back to pre-recording some content for South by Southwest. I've got the Bride here this afternoon. Keep an eye out for a review on that, which, no, you're listening to this Friday. My Bride review will be out before that. So scratch that. I don't know. Time's weird. Time doesn't exist. Anyway, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for listening. And remember, watch something spooky this week.